Today we're going to take a second look at the Cross RC FR4 Demon RTR. We're going to address a couple issues that I see with it, and I'm going to try to answer some viewer questions, so stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Uncle Lee, bullgearrc videos. And today, back in the bullgearrc spotlight, is the Cross Demon FR4 RTR. Now, I've had an opportunity to run this thing a bit, get a feel for it, and the first thing right off the bat I got to say about this truck, guys, is this is a decent RTR. I don't think this truck is getting enough press. I didn't even know they made an RTR. Cross made this RTR. I just ran up on it at a hobby shop, and since I was looking at kits anyway, I thought, well, yeah, I'll try the RTR out and see what I think of it. Now, normally with any RTR that I've got, something usually out of the box there will work, but something usually needs to be addressed fairly soon after we get them, whether it be the tires, whether it be the shocks, whether it be the steering servo, the electronics. Something generally tends to need to be addressed right off the bat. And well, this one, guys, it has a couple things that need to be addressed. The main one that needs to be addressed is a $3 fix. It may be cheaper if you got something laying around your house. The other one is a $7 fix. So total of $10 is what we're going to put into this thing to bring it up to speed. And that's kind of unusual for an RTR. Let me show you what these things are. This is something that I want to bring to your attention. And I'm going to kind of start with the worst thing I found about it. You notice I don't have a back drive shaft in here at the moment. And this is something that I want to bring to y'all's attention, because this is probably the worst thing that I've noticed about this truck so far. And that's this little spring right here. This is, you can see this on the drive shafts. They're all over the drive shafts. And what this spring does is it retains a pin that holds you know, that pin inside of there, if you can see that. Well, this spring retains that pin, and you can, and possibly will, drag that spring out of this groove while you're out on the rocks crawling, which is exactly what happened to me. And about 6 or 8 feet down the trail, I was wondering why I only had 2-wheel drive. And this is the reason this spring slid off and the pin popped out. So that's the biggest problem I see with this truck, and it's not really a big issue. Here you can see I've already taken care of that problem on one end of this drive shaft. What I've done is just took some heat shrink and put it over there, and that's going to keep that spring in place. I even chose blue because, you know, the truck's blue, so it'll kind of look like it's supposed to be there. But anyhow, yeah, it's not a great big thing to do this, guys. I mean, yeah. See, yeah. So, yeah, what I did, I just cut off a little piece of heat shrink, slid it over the end, and yeah, let's do one right now, just so you can see. So yeah, we just stick a piece of heat shrink on the end of it like this, and ooh, and that's basically all there is to it, guys. Problem solved. I did that one kind of quick, but yeah, so there's nothing to it to fix them. And then when you're putting them back, of course, you want to make sure that you've got your drive shaft clock right. So we just look at the pins. There's 4 slots here. So we just make sure that our pins are lined up, put it back, and there we have it, you know, one fixed drive shaft. Alright guys, so off camera I went ahead and finished this up. I didn't mess with the drive shaft up here that goes from the gear reduction down to the transfer case because, well, I think that's deep enough up into the chassis. It's not going to drag across any rocks. And I do also want to mention that this repair, although it's sort of an obvious repair for these little spring retainers, it's not something that's like a Bull Gear exclusive or anything. This seems to be, when I look at the cross community, this seems to be kind of a standard thing that cross owners wind up doing with their drive shafts. So yeah, it's a cheap little thing. It doesn't take but a few minutes to do it, and I highly recommend that if you're looking at a cross RC, that you go ahead and take care of that, and it actually doesn't look too bad once it's done. Now, since we're right here underneath anyway, I want to take a peek at these grub screws. Now, sometimes I found this on my Red Cat, the grub screws won't come out and you end up stripping them. And a little tip for that, doesn't work all the time, but a lot of times it will. If you get your soldering iron and get that real hot and just stick the tip of it right into that grub screw and let that grub screw get warm, a lot of times that will loosen up that Loctite so you can back your grub screw out. Alright, so moving right along, guys. The next thing I notice about this is we do have a plastic servo horn here. This Cross RC, it's a D223F digital servo. It's a high torque servo. It's probably one of the best servos I've seen power wise on an RTR so far. I mean, it does its job, so we're going to leave that in there for now, but we are going to replace the servo horn, and to do that I picked up this Boom Racing BRL C7055. It's a long steering servo horn, just because that was what was available at the local hobby shop that I stopped in at, and it's going to work. So let's get this installed. Alright guys, so yeah, we got the new steering horn installed. This is a clamping style, by the way. Set screw there, and set screw there. So I've got that done. If you notice, we have 2 holes here. This one, the holes didn't line up exactly in the same spot that they did on the stock plastic one. So I had a choice. It would work in either hole, but I chose the top hole. Gives me slightly less throw, slightly more torque, and what I did then is I went ahead and adjusted my endpoints and got all this adjusted out. And that's be sure to do that, guys, if you're messing around with swapping steering horns and changing out servos and everything. Not only getting them centered, but make sure that your endpoints are all good. Now, since we're right in the area of the steering servo, there's something else that I wanted to point out about this Cross RC. Alright guys, what I want to talk about, when we were talking about our steering servo, I want to talk about the ESC. This is a Hobby Wing 1060 waterproof ESC. And I don't know if you can read that, but 2 or 3S LiPo, and it says the BEC in this one is 6 volts at 3 amps. Now, a lot of people, talk about adjusting their voltage with a BEC or with their ESC. But when we're talking about a steering servo, guys, amperage is a big deal. And by comparison, a Traxxas ESC provides 1 amp to your steering servo. This is one of the reasons why you got to, right off the bat, just put a BEC in the Traxxas. Axial ESC is 2 amps. This one is 3 amps, guys. So this ESC in this Cross RTR has got as much amperage as an axial and a Traxxas combined going to the steering servo. And that might be another reason why the steering servo works so good for an RTR. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, guys. Okay guys, now on to the viewer questions. I know this video is running long, so I'm going to try to make this quick. But I get asked rather frequently, what is the best RTR? And I've given considerable thought as to how exactly I would answer that question, because I wouldn't give everybody the same answer. And what I mean by that, guys, is, for example, if you're the type of guy that puts a 3S lipo in his crawler to gain wheel speed, then to you, I would say stick with an axial or a Traxxas, because they are probably going to be able to better stand up to what you might have in store for them. Now, if you're more like me, I guess, I actually go the opposite direction. I want to slow my trucks down, so I'll gear them down, I'll put slower motors in them, whatever, because I like to do, personally, slow technical crawling. So that kind of opens up the market a little bit if you're more of that type of a guy. If you're looking for just performance out of the box and nothing else, then I would say, you know, get a TRX4 Sport. If you're looking for a truck that you can build, modify, upgrade, make into whatever you want to, then I would say by all means axial. I think they have the best still aftermarket support of any brand out there. As far as the Enduro Sendero goes, I can't speak to that truck because I haven't played with one, so we're going to leave that one out. If you're the kind of guy that's just looking for a budget truck that kind of gives you the best of both worlds, you know, scale, performance, then I'd say, hey, get yourself a Gen 8 Red Cat. Which brings me now to this truck right here, guys. Cross RC is the only brand that I've bought two of back to back. And yeah, there's that. You can take that how you like. But anyway, till next time, old Uncle Lee, bullgearrc video said, I'll see ya.